So, a warm good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second day of the International E-Conclave. This is a wonderful Sunday once again, and we are all of us are here gathered to learn about yet another very interesting topic, very commonly used in India, on nicotine replacement therapy. And now we move on to the third scientific session, which is on the effective use of nicotine transdermal patches. For this, our speaker our chairperson for the evening is Mr. Premjit Thokchom. He is co-founder and president at the Tobacco Control Education Sangai Youth Tobacco Free and Educational Organization. He's from Manipur and has been extensively and dedicatedly working for tobacco control in the state. He's a certified trainer from the NTCP Government of India and also a certified Tobacco Cessation specialist from Gujarat University, member of the SLCC, NTCP, and GOM, a very active member of AFTC Mumbai, and a certified CCTH from PFHI Institute. So with this, I invite Mr. Premjit to kindly chair the third scientific session.
Thank you, Shruti. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you very much once more again. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Pawan, Dr. Reena, and Mr. Reshav and Mr. Shruti, the most energetic women, all hard dedicated teams also of the ICanCaRe. And then today I have a very great opportunities to be a chairperson in this International E-Conclave on the Tobacco Cessation. And then a few points from my side. Everybody is thinking that nicotine is difficult to quit. Nicotine is the one of the most addictive substance on earth, and this is why it is so hard to quit. When the level of the nicotine start to drop, cravings of the tobacco increase, long periods of the time, between cigarette and the other tobacco product, such as sleeping through the night, and will have a strong craving to smoke. This is because the amount of the nicotine in the body has dropped. Since the body is having nicotine, it will be more. So everybody is thinking too difficult to quit nicotine to quit. So in this topic, related with the topic of the effective use of the nicotine patch will be the speakers. I would like to introduce the speakers. Dr. Rowe Christina. She is the stops smoking specialist from the National SM UK, and then Madam is the already 12 year more than 12 year of the dedicated service of the smoking the addictions under the NHS, and then Madam is the already trainer of the smoking cessations Pfizer, and then again Ma'am is the professionally training to the smoking cessations for the health care profession, all the medication, and then medication interactions and the relapse prevention. And then Ma'am is closely work with the cardiacs and the respiratory cancers and the maternity department. And then one more, the Ma'am have the very good quality qualified counselors for the members of the British Associations of the Counseling and the Psychotherapy. So Ma'am Christina, floor is yours.
First of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and it's such an honor actually to meet such wonderful people doing amazing work in India. And I've always been quite passionate about working in India, about doing smoking cessation in India. And I often discuss that with Pfizer, like how can we work, across the border? What can we do, and so on and so forth. Something that Dr. Shastri just mentioned earlier on, just having nicotine replacement therapy is not enough. Okay, we need to understand the behavior around smoking as well. We need to understand why does a smoker actually smoke, what's going around for them, and sometimes they actually have a connection of maybe companionship, or boredom, or just trying out, or is it addiction? So I think once we kind of establish the foundation as to why they are smoking, the next journey becomes a little bit more easier. And I think everybody has mentioned, tobacco still remains the most, the single greatest cause of preventable death in England and across the years as well. And we know that by 10 years, they lose at least 10 years of their life. And, as mentioned earlier on as well, yes, people with mental health smoke far more than anybody else. And also people on low income, that's what we have found in the UK. So we don't know why people on low incomes smoke. when they don't have the income. But when you start digging deep down, then you can understand the reason why they smoke. And often I find in the UK that they may not have money for food, but you find money for cigarettes. And each packet of cigarette costs like, I don't know, about £8, £9. So that's a lot of money anyway to begin with. Okay. Yes. So can we have the next slide? So if you guys have already covered this, and I'm kind of just repeating myself really in here. So we know the smoking death rate is very, very high, extremely high in comparison to suicide, alcohol, and other accidents, diabetes, and so on and so forth. Even drugs misuse doesn't have such a high death rate as one would have in smoking. And we know that there are lots of nicotine replacement therapies out there. The thing is that, what do you offer the patient? What I do is I give them the choice. I don't tell them, you need to wear a patch, or you need to wear a lozenge, or you need to use a lozenge or a garment or inhalator, or so on and so forth. These are all the medications out here. What do you think might work for you? So what I found is that when you tell somebody what to do, they don't want to do it, because we don't like to be told what to do. As adults, we don't want to be told what to do. We don't want to be told, this is what you should be doing in order to get better. You give me the options, and I will pick what I want to pick. Okay. And I think often as health professionals, we like to tell people what to do. Yeah. And I'm going to speak for myself. You tell them what to do rather than giving them a choice as to what would you like to do. Okay, I think that's where we find we need to find the right balance. And so I'm actually talking about the nicotine replacement therapy in terms of the patch. Yeah, you want to just change my slide for me, please? Because I don't think I can't change it in this end. Can I have the next slide, please? Mr. Abdul, you raised a hand. Would you like to ask me a question?
I will take up the question in the end, not in between, please. So
okay, that's fine.
It will disturb the whole presentation. Thank
okay,
you.
Fine. Can I have the next slide? The next slide, please. Okay. Whatever's going on is going on out there. I don't have access to the presentation, and so let's talk about the patches. So we in the UK actually have two different strengths of patches. Okay, so we have the 24-hour patch and we have a 16-hour patch. So what we do with the 16-hour patch is people that don't smoke at night, we have a tendency of offering them 16-hour patch. And the person that actually smokes at night and wakes up in the morning and literally gagging for a cigarette, we then advise them, you know what? I think the 24-hour patch would be better for you, because when you wake up in the morning, you already have nicotine in your system. Okay, so and we always have a combination of two. So either the patch, because the patch gives the slow release of nicotine by the hour, it pumps, just gives you sufficient nicotine for you to kind of be stable. And then you can top that up with a second product, a combination product, and that could be anything, like your gums, your chewing gums, your lozenges. We have the inhalator, mouth spray. So there are quite other few products, or the inhalator as well. And we have the nasal spray as well, which gives you instant delivery to the brain, the nicotine brain. The patch is actually very, very simple to use. Okay, you literally just, and it's so discreet as well. So you just put it on anywhere on your body and you just let it be. Okay, and nobody really needs to know that you're even wearing a patch. I think that's the beauty about it, and you know that you are getting your nicotine delivery at the same time. The patches that we have in the UK, I'll say that they're actually waterproof, so you can shower, you can go for a swim, and so on and so forth. So that's quite handy. Okay, obviously, there's absolutely no transfer of dependency. You can't get addicted to the patch because it gives you such a minimum amount of nicotine that there's no way you can get addicted to the patch. And often people find that they cut the patch as well. And we advise them, you do not cut the patch and use half of the patch, because when they read 25 milligram on the box, they say, oh my God, 25 milligram, but the cigarette actually only has like 10 mg in there. Why you give me 25 milligrams? So they have a tendency of actually cutting the patch and saying, you know what, I'm going to cut the patch. So when you cut the patch, what happens? You actually cut the membrane of the patch, and it doesn't give you any nicotine whatsoever. And I find that's quite interesting, because the minute you actually cut the membrane of the patch, the nicotine is then evaporated. However, the patient feels that they are getting nicotine. So it's like a placebo effect as well. And I actually find it quite fascinating. So I kind of let them get on with it. If you're cutting the patch using, you know what, that just goes to show you don't really need it. But I tell them right at the end of the 12-week session. And many of you have mentioned it's very, very important to have a structure. So, you know, you have a 12-week structure. And so in the first 4 weeks, what we do is offer the highest dosage of the patches. And then we bring it down. Say, for example, if you have the 25 milligram, we then bring it down to 15 milligram, and then we bring it down to 10 milligram. And by the time they get to 10 milligram, most of the time they don't need any more patches. Obviously, it's very, very safe, and the patient will receive just sufficient nicotine in order for them to cope through the day. We do offer pregnant women the patch, and it's actually quite successful in hospitals. We don't offer them the 24-hour patch. However, we do offer them the 25 milligram patch. And we don't shy away from giving the pregnant woman if they need 2 patches. And the reason behind that is that when mummy is actually having withdrawal symptoms, baby is also having withdrawal symptoms. So the mother's cravings for having more nicotine is far greater than a person who's not pregnant. So how we do monitor that. We don't just say here are 2 patches and off you go. Okay, we understand the behavior. Okay, we understand we have weekly phone calls or face-to-face phone call, or we have carbon monoxide reading to assess the level of carbon monoxide in the system. So we have quite a few tools whereby we are able to assess the smoker, how many they're smoking, and all this kind of thing, especially with pregnant women as well. So a pregnant woman's carbon monoxide reading is always be much higher than a non-pregnant person. It would be male of anyone. So that is all about the patches. So the 24-hour patch comes in 3 doses. So that is 21 milligram, 14 milligram, and 7 milligram. I'm quite fortunate because I'm able to offer them the counseling aspect as well. So I do group therapy with people to understand why they're smoking. And I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I have to say that we have a very, very successful rate. Anything between, 75 to 82% of quitters over the period of 12 weeks. So, and then it's not just about quitting only, we also have harm reduction as well. So you allow somebody, a very heavy smoker, to have the patches or another combination whilst they're cutting down smoking as well. Because for some people, just taking that cigarette away from them leaves them quite vulnerable. And the anxiety levels kind of rise up as well. Because suddenly something that's been a part of their life for so many years, which you tell them, hang on a minute, you can't have that anymore because you need to use this. So by understanding the behavior of the smoker, you can say, let's have some harm reduction first. So maybe for the first 2 weeks, we'll have harm reduction, which then takes the smoking cessation table to 14 weeks rather than 12 weeks, okay? And I've also heard about a lot of questions around smokeless tobacco. And the interesting thing is that we don't seem to address shisha smoking. And that is so prevalent amongst our youth, and also very, very, very detrimental. And also very, very detrimental as well. We know that smoking harms the body in various ways. And, our great doctors out there, and we all know, but does the smoker know? Yeah. So what I always have a tendency, what I do with them is I actually give them visuals. Okay. I show them a picture and say, this is how it harms your body. This is the heart. These are your lungs. This is the circulation. And I have little graphic images to show what mouth cancer actually looks like. Okay, what lung cancer looks like. I have graphic images to show them. And sometimes by telling them, they don't see it. Okay, and if you notice, what does a smoker do? On the packet, you have smoking kills. Okay, smoking causes cancer. But what will the smoker do? He or she will turn the packet the other way, and they'll take the cigarette out. Okay, because they don't want to see the other part of the packet. Okay, so when you are not taking any responsibility, if you don't see it, you then don't take responsibility for your own self. Okay, but the minute it's actually presented to you wholly in front of your eyes and becomes quite graphic, then you say, oh yes, actually I see what's happening, and this is what can be happening in my body as well. Okay, can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. I think we've already been through this anyway. We know that when people are quitting smoking, that the levels of anxiety quite rises, and stress levels rise as well. However, it does improve the quality of life, and we all know that they're fantastic benefits to quitting smoking at whatever age it is. So you have someone with COPD, and if they quit smoking, 2 weeks later on, in fact, even within a week, they will tell you that, you know what, I can breathe better. And I'm going to give you a tiny little story about a lady. So this lady, I went to see at home, and she was sitting in her bed, who was not resting, sleeping down there. She had to sit like this all the time. All the time she had to sit. So I went to see her at home, and we had a chat and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. She came on board to quit smoking, but we had, after a long chat, I said, okay, what do you think you can use? And let's use this. I think this might be good for you. And, what is it that you think might work for you? So she picked whatever she wanted to pick, and she used the NRT. Within 8 weeks of the time, and this is absolutely no lie, within 8 weeks of time, this lady, she no longer had to sit like that and sleep in her bed. She was lying down like that. And when you see a success story like that, it just makes you want to help more and more and more and more people. Okay. So when I have talks, I will call her and I will ask, and I will tell the audience about her experience. Okay, because the experience of the people is what really matters. When they talk, a smoker can connect with them. When I talk, they'll say, what do you know about smoking? Or have you ever tried, have you ever smoked? And I think actually I have smoked. Yeah, but it must be very easy for you. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was my son who actually shamed me into quitting. So, everybody has story, but when a professional tells you, they just think that we want them to do something. But when you have live case studies actually talking about their benefits and their success stories, it has a greater impact on the person quitting. Okay, we know that when people quit smoking, the metabolism rate goes, the plasma levels can kind of reduce as well. So which means a lot of the medication, people with mental health illness, their medications are actually reduced. So a person who takes medication and any psychotic drugs, most psychotic drugs, when they quit smoking, the medication dosage comes low. So we are very mindful of that when we are working with people with mental health conditions. And we're constantly in touch with their GPs to ensure that, we are in touch to let them know, okay, this person has now quit. And then the GP say, okay, we can now reduce the milligram. Even to 5 milligram, it makes a huge difference. Okay, it makes a huge difference. Okay. We know nicotine withdrawal symptoms are absolutely terrible. Okay, so people will tell you we have crazy cravings, you want to eat all the time, you get headaches, you kind of go into a bit of a low, very irritated. People say, oh, my husband is just so irritated all the time and, drives me crazy. Vice versa for women as well. I'm not just picking on men. It increases your anxiety levels. And it also, one of the things is poor concentration. Because a lot of people, what they do is, if they're working on a massive project, what do? When they want to think, they'll go out, have a quick fag, and they'll come back, and they can then work on the project, do a fantastic job. Okay, so because that increases the concentration level, it releases the happy feelings and being able to concentrate, and they've had a time to go away and think about something, so they no longer have that, and they feel that they can't concentrate anymore. They get quite restless, and a desire to eat a lot more, because smoking, we know smoking suppresses hunger, and the minute you quit smoking, the desire to eat comes back again. Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. I had to conclude the talk. I didn't realize it went so fast. Well, the conclusion is that I think we as clinicians, doctors, by the way, I'm not a doctor, but I have about 15 years of experience doing smoke cessation within hospitals, qualified counselor, and so all of that kind of stuff. So the conclusion that I think we should all work together, and many of you have presented some fantastic stuff, and for me, I'm going to take away a lot of learning, and yes. So thank you very much for having me here, and yeah, I hope to meet you all again at some point.
Thank you, Christina. That was a wonderful presentation, and really a lot of learning from and learning across the border. We do come to realize that what we are doing in India, and definitely this is the way we will take it forward. So over to Mr. Premjit ji for the chairman's concluding remark, and Premjit ji, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Ma'am, thank you very much for giving the great informative sections on the topic of the effective use of the nicotine pads. Thank you very much, madam. And then I would like to give the conclusions remarks. I mean, today tobacco cessation is becoming very mandatory. That's because the tobacco epidemic begins the public health threat, and that it kills more than the 8 million people a year globally. And then more than 5 million direct means tobacco use, and then more than 6 lakhs are the results of the non-smokers being exposed to the second-hand smoke. And nearly 80% of the more than 1 million smokers worldwide live in the low and the middle income country. And then tobacco kills more than tuberculosis, HIV, AIDS, and the malaria and the combined. The annual deaths from the tobacco use expected to rise more than the 8 million people in this next 2 decades. And then ma'am is describing about the nicotine, that's withdrawal symptoms also. So I mean here in this nicotine replacement therapies acts nicotine medication acts as the nicotine acetylene receptors to mimic or replace the effect of the nicotine from the tobacco. Nicotine replacement medications are believed to facilitate to smoking cessation in the several way. The principal actions is the relief of the withdrawal symptoms, where when a person stops use, and then a system is observed with relatively low blood levels of the nicotine. And then second mechanisms of the benefit is the positive reinforcement, particularly for the arousal or the stress relative effect. The degree of the positive reinforcement is relative to the rapidity of the absorption, and the peak of the nicotine level is achieved in the arterial blood. And one more last things I would like to conclude, that nicotine pads on the other hand deliver nicotine gradually, and the produced substance nicotine level throughout the day, thus not proving the much positive reinforcement. So this is from my side. And then those who are all participate in this international E-Conclave on tobacco cessation, those who love the tobacco control, tobacco control, please connect to the ICanCaRe team. Thank you very much, Dr. Pawan.
Thank you so much, sir. And really thanks to both the chairperson, Mr. Premjit and Mrs. Christina, for the nice talk. And